Hi there, welcome back to Not Another Budget. I'm Nicole, and on this channel I'm attempting to cash budget my way out of debt and fix several years of financial misbehaviour. So if that's something you're interested in following along with, please don't forget to stick around and check out the other content that I have created for you on this channel. Now, in today's video I wanted to discuss an idea that has been brewing in my mind, and that has come about because as patterns and trends are starting to become clear in my budget, and you'll have seen this if you've been following my debt snowball updates, my savings plans, my monthly budget plans. They're starting to look like, realistically, an extra, let's say £400 a month for round numbers, makes my budgeting wants a little bit more feasible, because that would allow me to, and this is just up to December, although I am sure the same would be true going forward from January, because that would allow me to comfortably make extra payments to my debt, to make sure that actually I'm not cutting my budget for the sake of cutting my budget, that actually it's a balanced budget where I'm not overspending on myself and I'm not then cutting on essential things like food and fuel, which I can't really cut anyway, and then actually I can start to look at small savings if I want to do small savings and things, and that's £100 a week, £400 a month, however you choose to quantify it. That's kind of where it's coming in at. And you know, I'm sitting here on the first official day of half term, which is the Saturday evening, and for me I have this week where, you know, partly we are undergoing quite a severe storm in the UK, just generally wherever you live in the UK, so I'm pretty much grounded, but also my intentions were to go through the garage and have a massive de-stash. Well, you can only de-stash so much, and also if I look at what I'm kind of down to start de-stashing, it's things like my fabrics and my haberdashery notions and my ribbons and my trims and my sewing patterns and the tools of my trade, so to speak. And these tools of the trade are a remnant of my creative life, essentially. They are the last bits and pieces and the last physical things of a decade spent working in costume and 15 plus years of loving and fighting to get into that industry, because I decided at 14-15 years old this was what I was going to do, and loving the books that I have and not wanting to get rid of them, and loving the patterns, the sewing patterns, that really rare ones that I spent a long time searching for and saving for to get, fabric which some of it is thrifted curtain fabrics, but I've walked past and I've seen it and gone, I know exactly what I can do with that, and I've bought it, and it's half started projects and half cut ideas and really cute little buttons that I inherited from a great aunt or my nan, and looking at all of these things which are taking up space. They're taking up space in the house, and I don't know if I'm going to be in this house that has the space for them, but you know, if I move I might not have the space for that. And then I'm sitting there going like, okay, well, like, what's my time going to be like? I'm not going to have any time to do any sewing, and I'm not going to have any time to do this. And then actually sitting there and seriously thinking like, well, actually I'm the one that can determine that, you know, outside of, as long as I get my work done for my teacher training, it's down then for me to decide how I spend my personal time, you know. There's only so much house tidying you can do, and as a creative person who is neurodivergent, my house is never going to be a show home. There will always be slight pockets of chaos, and I find completely tidy show home based houses incredibly uncomfortable. I don't know about anyone else. I need a little bit of clutter out on the side, because that's very much me. Like, this is clutter, let's just face it, this little display here is clutter. It serves no bearing, but it makes me feel calm and comfortable, and that's very much what I am trying to use this half-term holiday for. I'm trying to just reset and go, right, okay, you know, I go whole hog on listing things for like £2 here or £3 there, or just giving it away to a charity shop, you know, going into the garage, I can't really pull stuff out, which is what I need to do because it's flooded outside. Well, not quite flooded, but the ground is wet, things would get damaged or dirty, so that plan's been kind of scuppered. And I'm looking around, and it's just been there at the back of my mind where it's like, okay, well, I'm now at the point where I destash this stuff, and I don't want to destash this stuff. I don't want to destash these fabrics. I don't want to destash the notions and the sewing patterns, because they are, there was something in it when I bought them, and some of them are very like one-off, so you can't replace them. And back in February 2022, closed my business. And my business was a costume making business. And I got sick of my customers, because the business as it was then in February 22 was not what it was when I started, which was in April 2020. So the creativity had gone from it. Challenges to do with shipping internationally and domestically, not being able to keep up with supplier costs and supplier price changes that were 4 or 5 times a month, stock issues for materials, and I ended up with a business that I felt like I had very little creative control over, because I was just churning out the same things which I knew would sell. I didn't give myself the opportunity to reinvest, because that was my sole source of income really at the time. A large part of this was during the COVID lockdown, so there was a good 18-month period where I didn't really that was the income that I had coming in. So the business was purely there to generate me an income to pay my bills. And there was nothing left. I wasn't very good at managing my money and then either. So I wouldn't let myself take any money out of the business to reinvest, to take time off. My lead times were all over the place, because I felt like I was just constantly chasing to keep up with orders. I didn't set myself very good boundaries. And so I got so sick of it all. And I was listing on Etsy, and there's another fee rise, and their customer service for their sellers was horrendous. And I'd had 3 false refund claims go through. And in the end, I threw my hands up in the air in an absolute fit of pick and went, I'm not doing this anymore. And I just completely shut it down. But the business had made money every month. And that was with me working on it a full-time basis. And I still have those materials. I still have those supplies. I still have the equipment. I still have the patterns that I used to adapt. I still have the books that I referenced. And they've just been gathering dust, essentially. And they've moved from being stored on a roll to onto a storage box, to stored on a board, to back to a storage box. And that's where they currently are sitting. It's the reason why I have 21 storage boxes of fabric and not the small wonder-bed ones. Like, half of them are the very, very big 90+ litre storage boxes. And I am missing the costume side. I love the filmmaking. I love doing the videos and stuff and pouring my creativity into budgeting. And at the minute, it is great that I am exercising that creativity by creating the teaching aids and the lesson plans and getting my practical skills on that side of it up to grips. But I am very much conscious that alongside the teacher training that I'm doing, I am not based at any schools which have textiles. So in a year, I am very aware that my practical skills could slip, because I'm not actively using them. It's not where my focus is. And if I then go to a school which has a textiles offering, and I have a professional textiles background and my skills are rusty, it's not going to be very good. And I am missing the costume design part of my life, because that was such a core part of who I was and made me love the creative things that I do. But this was very much how the business was originally structured. And I've just got some notes for you on reflection. So I previously listed only on Etsy, and at the time it was just not a great time to be a seller on Etsy in a pandemic, dealing with, in the UK's case, Brexit, so therefore tax, VAT changes as well, international shipping issues, my suppliers having trouble getting stock, me listing an item thinking I'd be able to restock it and I wouldn't be able to because the fabric would then have sold out and they weren't getting any more in, or they'd put their costs up again, or there was an issue and there was a change of cut, like all of that. So it generated an average of £1,800 per month, and that is only an average. There were some months where it was double that, and there were some months where it was half that, and it ran from April 2020 to February 2022, and I started with fabrics that I had at the time. I got a very, very small £300 grant from the Prince's Trust and their new enterprise fund at the time, and I used that to invest in 40 meters of fabric. That's how far that went, because I didn't have any wholesale accounts or access to anything like that. So I got 40 meters of fabric, 4 colors of 10 meters a roll, to basically make 4 products, and that I knew I would be able to restock. So that's what I started with. I started with £300 for 4 products on a grant, and then whatever little bits and pieces I had. I kept no money for serious reinvestment, so I was buying 5 meters here or 10 meters there, but one product could use 10 meters of fabric. So I wasn't really able to reinvest to kind of having hundreds and hundreds of meters in stock so that I could always keep that line going. Whereas I started with lots of creativity because I was just trying things and making things, and I was making one-offs and things like that. By the end, I had no room for creativity. I was making green velvet cloaks, black velvet cloaks, black wool cloaks, and brown hoods, because those are my 4 best sellers. I wasn't allowing myself any time to experiment or try anything else, because in my mind there was too much risk to doing that, and I needed the money in to pay the bills. It was very much Etsy would issue a payout, I would withdraw it daily, or I would go for a daily payout, because my income was that spotty at the time. At that point, filming hadn't really restarted, and therefore I didn't leave myself enough leeway with commissions or lead times. So because I was chasing orders, if someone came in with a commission, I would underprice myself. Realistically, I would then probably just buy whatever I could get straight away, because I would promise to do something quicker, and then therefore to meet that deadline I would have to spend more on materials. So I was making very, very little, and the commission requests I had were just towards the end utterly annoying, and people equally wanting the world and me not being prepared to do that, and me putting my foot down and running into people aren't great if they run into a boundary or a barrier, and that's what was happening. Lead times, I didn't ever give myself healthy lead times, because I felt that because of the competitiveness of the platform that I was selling through, I felt like I had to give really good lead times, so I was burning out really, really quickly. I was giving myself no time off. And then on top of that, I was unable to keep up with my supplier cost changes, shipping charges, Etsy's fees at this point they added the Google offsite ad, which you couldn't opt out of back then, so I was getting stung for that. They then were obviously upped their fees at that time for shipping, even though you make no money on your shipping. You might, add, I think 2% if you work out your shipping costs at a tenner, and you go, okay, right, well, it's 30p for the box, or £1 for the box, and it's 30p for the paper. Whatever you work your costs out are, that would be it. But then you're getting charged 5% on that, so you're then losing that. There at one point there was no chat option, so if you had an issue, you were having to email Etsy seller support and hoping you would get a response, but not always. I'd speak to a supplier and go, okay, right, I'll be back at the end of the week, can you hold it? And then they email 2 days in and go, no, we've had a price change, we can't hold it. So all of that was going on. But did this business make me money? Yes. Did I run it very well? No. Was it very much me in survival mode the whole time because I needed it to pay my bills? Yes. And that's because the normal bread and butter, which was me working on films, wasn't there. So I had to go and take all of the money out, as much as I could, to pay my bills. And then if there was sitting there going, oh crap, I need to now buy fabric for this commission. So I never kept anything in. There was no emergency fund for it whatsoever. So I'm very much back in the same position-ish. I still have the materials. I still have the supplies. I have more idea now of what goes into this. I still have the equipment. I still have the resources that I need. And the difference this time around is that I don't need a business to generate an income for me. My income is secured by teaching. And at the same time as well, when I first listed, I just snapped some pictures, put them up on Etsy, and just started listing and started selling. I never built myself up stock. There was never stock there for me to build up, so I knew really what was going on. My stock levels were very wishy-washy because it was determined by what fabric I had in, not necessarily whether I could actually, did I have the time to make up those products and list it. So it was very much a huge learning curve, but it was a learning curve where actually it's like, well, there is something here which is making money, and I just wasn't, what I needed from it was very much dictated by the circumstances at the time. So this is very much like business 1.0. And I am toying with the idea of restarting, rehashing, rejuvenating, revitalizing, rebranding, doing something completely different along the same lines of, do I list it? Like, all of that is now back in play again because I have this time, and because I've very much just gone, yep, I'm still going to list what I can on Vinted this week. I'm still going to very much do that. The plan has had to change slightly because I can't get into the garage how I thought I would. And actually, what do I have in here? Okay, I have all of the things which were pre-cut and ready to go. So I'd cut fabric, I'd cut the patterns. They're rolled up, ready for me to construct. There's about 15 items total, I think, possibly more, as well as half finished ones, because I did very much just shut it down and stop. One day woke up and went, I'm not doing this anymore. I shut everything down because I had no orders pending to go out, and I just went, I'm done. So where I come to now, I'm not dependent on anything beyond my teaching bursary. Dependent, I think that's an A. I'm not dependent. I've got my teaching bursary, which is covering my monthly bills. This is just extra. What I'm looking at is actually, can I secure something extra to make that debt payoff and that savings journey easier? Even my big savings goals are covered by my student loan payment. I'm also then there going, okay, well, there's the love of the thing. I'm missing the love of working on costumes. I'm missing the love of doing that side of it creatively, because there's only so many teaching aids that are adaptive and accessible and have got to be taught to 11 to 14-year-olds that I will actually find creative. And therefore as well, I'm also there going, okay, well, this thing that I don't want to lose those skills. Some things I was making was quite simple. Some things I were making were quite complex. And I still have the ideas, and I still look at the fabric, which I've got folded up, arranged in colour order. The stuff that isn't boxed, even the stuff that's boxed, is in colour order. And go, well, I know why I still bought that I still think that fabric, that curtain offcut, that thing, that bit of braid, I still think that thing would suit it. So I still have the ideas that drove purchases. So I still have that. And I still have stock. I have probably, in fact, I'm probably in a better position because I have more stock and supplies than I did when I started, because along the way I was buying bits here to try it, or I would see a thing and go, okay, that's going to generate this. My stock take lists are still accurate because I did full stock takes on the business. I did it all properly. I had that report on that data. And therefore as well, there's no immediate urgency to list a thing and sell it to generate to income. No immediate, I'm struggling to write and explain as well, so I'm going to write then explain. So there's no immediate urgency to list for an income. I can dictate as much time as I need to create. And what I mean by that is that I'm not there going, okay, well, today I've got to spend all day on this one order, and then I've got to start this off, and then I've got to do that. And it's a bit different to me. Completing an order may take 30 hours, depending on the item. It may take 5. So you're looking at, like, if you then take into account the fact that, okay, there's this element of trying to balance it, and there was no balancing, there was no mental well-being going on, there was no like good work-life balance, it was not there. But actually now I'm at the point where I can say, okay, well, I'm going to just take all day and I'm going to make these things up, and then that'll be what's available. Or I make a load of stock, do nothing with it, decide where I'm going to list it, and then launch and go, whatever I have is what is for sale. Dictate as much time as I need to create stock. I can be more creative as well. And I can not use Etsy. I don't know, because that is the thing. Etsy is the natural platform in terms of a third-party marketplace to host these items, or to host these products. I am more satisfied with Vinted as a listing platform, but it is not the natural destination for these products, unless I specifically make sure that anything I therefore am listing are these themed things, costumes, live action role play, reenactment pieces that are just there, and I list one at a time, because that's what you can't list multiples of stock on Vinted. And you know, I use that structure, because equally within my pricing I was having to put my prices up so much at the end because Etsy's fees were horrendous. Do I want to look at driving natural traffic to a site? I don't know. But I can be more creative with my makes and actually make things that I want to make. And therefore I have the luxury of time. Because there are no financial dependencies on this business at the end of the day. So I wanted to bring you up to speed with where my head is at, because I don't really believe that you should have one income coming in. I think the times when that was entirely feasible are gone. I am, and I've been thinking about this. It's like, okay, do I go out and do a Sunday retail job to earn 50 quid a week? Do I do evening bar work? Because I want to get this done, but at the same time I have got to be mindful of the intensity of my teacher training and my PGCE and what my hours are there. Realistically, the easiest way to generate another £100 a week is to do it from some home-based venture. I've looked at and thought about, and you'll know this if you've watched me, I've looked at and thought about, budgeting things and stuff like that, but actually it's not where creating things like that for me are very, very different to creating something for someone else. And it's not where my heart lies. This is where actually I get really excited. I get more excited about creating a costume thing and picking up, and I've literally done it before. I've thrown 3 different fabrics onto a pile, a little bit of braid, and gone, right, what can you create? And utilizing those skills and honing my craft even further without the demands of someone wanting a commission for nothing and having to chase just what is the most popular bestseller in a business which I needed for a full-time income. And actually that's the best way to do this. Now, I have financially structured things up to December. Realistically, an extra £400 a month in November's income and probably December's income is going to be very, very helpful. But what I don't want to do is chase what is ultimately £800 and launch this early and not be ready and make the same mistakes again. So I'm going to start I'm going to start creating and pulling together a draft of a business plan that I will work off. It doesn't need to go to a bank. It's not going to need any financing or anything like that, but it's in the same way that you set yourself a budget plan. A business plan I very much use as my guide for me. What are my immediate goals in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years? And this is something which I want to be able to come in and go, okay, I need to switch off. I know this creating thing is going to help me switch off. So I'm going to design a thing. I'm going to do a little bit of hand sewing to finish off a hem in front of the TV. What I don't want to do is just do what I have been doing and have found myself doing for the past 2 weeks and just sat there on my laptop doing some gaming, because don't get me wrong, I like it. I love The Sims 4. I love Medieval Dynasty. I love playing Skyrim, but I don't want to look up and 3 hours have gone by and all I've done is immerse myself into an online world. That's no good and do that every night. That's no good for anyone. Or me particularly. A little bit on the weekend, a little bit today or a little bit this evening, because it's my first official day off. That's fine, but I don't want it to become a habit. So I want to try and and realistically as well, making things up, it's going to be easier to store them that way and reduce what I have and use those things that I'm at the point of starting to list that way than it is to sell them in their form. Realistically, I'm going to get more money for them that way. Because 10 meters of fabric, for one thing, if I sell 10 meters of fabric for what's the item, £40, say it's £4 a meter, no, let's say £50, £5 a meter, easy maths, but I take 2 meters to make a thing and I sell that thing for £40, I'm going to get more money off that single thing than selling it in its raw fabric form. So that is very much where I'm at with this, and it's probably going to lead on to another video because I'll probably do something about multiple income sources, because I do very much think in today's day and age, cost of living crisis, blah blah blah, prices going up, blah blah blah, wage reduction, quite frankly, because it's not kept up with inflation, blah blah blah, wage reduction, blah blah blah, wherever you are in the world. I don't think one income, and particularly in my case in a solo household, is going to cut it anymore, because at the minute, yes, I can pay my bills, but actually if my bills go up and my cost of things go up, then actually that's going to eat into it. So at the minute, ideally, I'd like whatever this is to do is to generate me £100 a week, and realistically, depending on the item, that is either 1 item or 2 items sold a week. So I will do a second follow-up to this once I kind of know what I am working towards. I'm not just going to immediately start launching and making and being like, I've listed a thing, it's here and there. Anything I do, I will, whatever format I list it in, be it an Etsy, a Vinted. I don't think I'm going to go eBay, because having a look, it's just anything I make is just dominated by the Chinese market. The likes of your fancy dress companies like Rubies and stuff like that, they're all on there. Like I'm just going to compete far too much. I am not a fan of Etsy. but I do have to weigh up whether that is the better option, and equally I may trial them on Vinted and see how they perform. So the specificsnesses of it all is not yet there, so I'll do a follow-up with you. It may not be tomorrow, guys, but I will do that with you at some point. So that's just very much where we are. That's something which is coming imminently. And I wanted to, given that it's based on budgeting and also, you know, well-being and balancing and things like that, I thought I would share this on here rather than just keeping it to myself. So I'm going to see you tomorrow. I don't know what the video is going to be because I don't have a lot of change to cash up this week. So I know I won't have hit my, the £10 that I can upload. That is the minimum that I can pay off to Credit Spring. I know I won't have hit that yet. So, because that's still the minimum that they're accepting, which is quite frustrating. So I don't know yet what tomorrow's video is going to be. It may not be a change up video. That I may pause that for 2 weeks. You'll see whenever I release it. As this has somehow run to 30 minutes, I'm going to go now, so sorry for another long one. Sometimes I can't say things quickly. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Have a fantastic budgeting week wherever you're in the world, and I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye for now.